Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Running a little late after House of the Dragon, hashtag them dragons ended, but we are here. And we are here with my co-host. She is host of the She Leads Showcase, Inside the Mind, Up in the Crowd. Storytime with Mrs. Katie Kinsey, baby.
Hello.
And he is the purveyor of Rivet City Radio, host of Botch Spots and Chair Shots, Botch Spots After Dark. And, he cooks some shit. He writes some shit. He interviews independent wrestlers and comes and talks horror with me and Katie. He is the Will Gray.
I am really glad to be here tonight.
I'm glad you are here. And we are here to talk Hannibal Lecter. Katie.
Yes.
You had only seen Silence of the Lambs about 10 years ago and hadn't seen anything else.
I didn't know there was anything else.
Will, I'm assuming you've seen all of this before?
Funny story. I've seen all of the movies and the TV show. When I went to watch Manhunter, though, I was logged out of our Vudu. And then when I forgot to go back and get it, I was like, I'll watch it on Daily Motion and couldn't. So when we get to Manhunter, I'm going to talk about the parts that I saw.
Okay.
But no, I was super familiar with the other three movies, though.
Spoiler alert. If you saw Red Dragon, then you saw Manhunter for the most part.
That's kind of what I gathered in the first 30 minutes of the movie. I was kind of like, okay, this is, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're not there yet. Where we are, though, ladies and gentlemen, is me thanking you for joining us, whether you're joining us live at twitch.tv/creationworld, where if you guys were just watching the show that I just did, or you're here now, if you guys have Amazon Prime, you have an Amazon Prime sub, you take that, you link it with your Twitch account, you get a free sub on Twitch every month, costs you absolutely nothing. You just have to go on your computer and click the little box that says use Prime sub, and then you give it to your favorite content creators. I say it every week. It should be me. It definitely should be me, but if it's not me, it could be Katie, it could be Will, Rivet City Radio, She Leads Showcase, twitch.tv/She Leads Showcase, twitch.tv/Rivet City Radio. Go give your subs. Pass them around. Spread the love. Give it to me 1 month, and then, Katie 1 month, and then Will 1 month. That's what I do. You guys can also check us out at youtube.com/creationworld, where it is free to like, to subscribe, to comment. Will, what does that do?
It boosts the algorithm and it helps find new listeners.
And Katie, why is that important?
You're a whore.
Especially when it comes to podcasts. I don't know how to say no. I just, yes, all the podcasts. Which is why we're doing this, which is why I was just on a podcast, which is why Creation World has all the content with my fucking face on it. So if you guys go to youtube.com, you see all those videos and all those things, you like, you subscribe, you comment, you support your favorite whore on YouTube, which should be me. Support your favorite whore. Just saying. Also, while you're supporting your favorite whore, flick that bean, hit that notification bell, get notified every time we go live, whether it is Thursdays at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for the Creation Conversation, Saturdays at 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern for Smack and Raw, Sundays normally at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Central for Getting Offed. We have one more in the season of the House of Dragon, and we might do that on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. I'll talk to Katie about that because it's Katie Horror Showcase 5. So we got to figure that out. But one more, and then we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. But also, you guys can catch us about an hour after hashtag or House of the Dragon for hashtag them dragons. Right here, youtube.com/creationworld, twitch.tv/creationworld. Whew. And with all that said, let's talk. So I was talking to Katie, right? And I was like, listen, I'm watching these movies, and it's really hard to do the regular spit or swallows because there's not really spits. There's a shit ton of swallows, but I feel like the spits are just dumb bullshit or nitpicking for me. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a movie. We'll probably go chronological. We'll save Manhunter for last. We'll go chronologically. And I'm just going to say, Will Gray, Red Dragon, spit or swallow?
I appreciate that. Oh, you want me to start?
Yes.
Oh, no. Red Dragon, 100% swallow. Without a doubt.
Katie, Red Dragon, spit or swallow?
Swallow, without a doubt.
And same for me. Now, everyone has notes, so... listen, Lord Voldemort is the secondary but primary bad guy. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna call Hannibal Lecter the primary bad guy, and then everyone else is a secondary bad guy.
I mean, in this movie though, like it's Hannibal's not. He's the secondary in this movie.
Okay, that's fair. But I love seeing all these famous people. So we've got Mary Louise Parker, who I'm sure Will is familiar with, because if Will didn't watch Weeds, I'd be shocked.
Swallow Nancy Botwin showing the fuck up.
There we go. And Katie. Edward Norton, aka the Incredible Hulk before the one we have now.
Fucking love Edward Norton.
Ralph Fiennes, like I said, Lord Voldemort. Plays a bad guy like no one else. Harvey Keitel. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P. in multiple ways.
And also anyway, we're not, I want to talk Manhunter and compare and contrast, but we're not going to do that. We're going to talk Red Dragon. So,
spoiler, Manhunter fucking sucked.
we'll talk.
I hated it.
We'll
talk about it. Spoiler.
There's some cool shit in there. Neither here nor there. So guys, what did you like? What was there? Well, here, let's start there, because I think there's gonna be less. Was there anything we didn't like about this movie?
Yes.
Okay, Katie, what do you got?
So it's a thing in media where they take killers and serial killers and things of that nature and give them shitty nicknames, or just give them nicknames in general, which, like, you know, it gives them notoriety and things like that. The Tooth Fairy is a terrible name. It is a shitty name, as I wrote in my notes. You could have called it anything else, but no, it's called the Tooth Fairy.
Fair. I mean, he was biting people, so I guess I get it. Showing up at night while they're sleeping. Shows up at night while they're sleeping. Neither here nor there. But, you know, I wasn't a fan of the Tooth Fairy either. But
it reminded me of Darkness Falls.
Yeah, I could see that.
The evil Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. Will, do you have anything you didn't like?
This is me getting nitpicky. Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon. I love them. Two of my favorite horror movies. When you look at the stories parallel to one another, since Red Dragon came out second, I feel like a lot of times Will Graham gets a bad rap because he seems like a watered down, less confident Clarice Starling.
Okay, so we will talk about this a little bit. For those of you who are unaware, 1986, 1 year before I was born, a movie was released called Manhunter. Manhunter and Red Dragon are both based on the novel Red Dragon. They're basically the same movie. And then later on, we got Silence of the Lambs. And once Anthony Hopkins came in and killed as fucking Hannibal Lecter, they said, all right, we're going to redo Manhunter as Red Dragon and name it after the novel that it was based on, Red Dragon. So then we got this. So we got a remake of a prequel remake. Anyway, after Silence of the Lambs came out, and years after Silence of the Lambs came out, though I will say they did a really good job at not making Hannibal look hashtag them Red Dragons.
Damn it, Justin, no.
Not look too much older compared to what he looked like in Silence of the Lambs. Like, I felt like they did a good job of trying to keep him a little bit young.
If you would have told me they were shot in like the same year, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
Besides, like, the quality of like the cinematography, Anthony Hopkins looked the fucking same.
Yes. I think that Anthony Hopkins is obviously a time traveler, for one thing, because if you look at him in Silence of the Lambs and you look at him in Red Dragon, it's the exact same fucking person.
It's like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same thing. But that was kind of my conundrum with it. The Clarice Starling, Will Graham connection or whatever, is because knowing that, because I didn't know about Manhunter, full disclosure, didn't even know it existed, nothing about it. So seeing that now, I was like, okay, because I felt like he's a watered down Clarice Starling. but in reality, Clarice Starling is just Graham leveled up.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see it that way because I watched them out of order. You know what I mean? Had I seen Manhunter first, I would have realized that what he did with Hannibal Lecter, is just what Clarice did, just another level up. You know what I mean? It's essentially the same story, and I was looking at it from the wrong perspective. So that's my only nitpick, is that I think Edward Norton was kind of like, he seemed unsure, whereas Clarice seemed really confident and powerful.
In this movie, Will Graham is a detective who gets inside the mind of serial killers, literally kind of becoming them, taking on their mentality, and was friends with one Dr. Hannibal Lecter, MD, not to be confused with Dr. Reek Baker, BBC, who was helping him solve a lot of murders. And they were working on a case together. And it just so happened that the case they were working on was the one featuring Hannibal as the killer. And while chatting with him, discovered, hey, I'm pretty sure this guy's eating people, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't figure that out. And then goes and looks, like, starts just going through Hannibal's shit when he walks out of the room. Rude as fuck, by the way, Will.
The detective.
Not Will Graham. Then sees that sweetbreads are written in a book about human body parts, and he's like, oh shit, it's him. And then they fight, and Hannibal gets caught. And now Hannibal is holding a fucking grudge, right? He's like, well, you think you're so smart, you fucking caught me, right? Like, I had you fooled and you figured it out. So what do you need me for? Because you figured me out, bitch. So they have a tense relationship because Will took some time off. He took a break. He said, I don't want to be a chef anymore. And then he decided to come back and start doing food trucks and shit, right? This is his food truck. This is his step back into chefing, as an analogy, not an acronym. Those are completely different things.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, they need me to come back, find the Tooth Fairy, and they want me to talk to Hannibal. And fuck, I don't want to do that because this man damn near killed me.
Literally. Okay. Send him to the psych ward, but you know.
But yeah, Katie, you love these kind of movies. This is your first watch through of Red Dragon. So we heard what you didn't like. You didn't like the nickname. Was there anything else you didn't like before we get into the things that you really enjoyed?
It is just like a little nitpick thing. So I think it's the second or the third time Graham goes to see Lecter, and he's like in the gymnasium, and they're walking. They were walking so fast for no reason. Like, you guys could have just like had a nice stroll around
for exercise. That's why they were in the gymnasium, to work up a sweat.
No, they too fast. I was like, the way they're talking and like the way that they're like fucking power walking was not correlating, and I didn't like that.
I feel like if you had longer legs, you could keep pace.
Rude.
The little baby leash dog lead thing kind of was humorous to me. Like, it's always funny to me. Like, do they use that in real life, you think?
Probably.
Like, is that a real life thing, like the dog lead?
Honestly,
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah, because that's all I could think in my head was them walking. And that, and isn't it Harley Quinn who's on one in like Suicide Squad or something like that? There's another one I just recently remember seeing it. I remember thinking, like, do they use the dog leads in real life with like hardened criminals? Is this like an actual thing?
They probably don't anymore, but there probably was a time when they did.
I think they do. Because listen, you see parents with kids and they put them on leashes because kids are running. The whole point of having them on a lead is to make sure they can't fucking escape. They can't get away. You got them at arm's length, right? Like, you got them chained to something. So yeah, no, I think they still do it. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Would you like, Katie?
Everything. Everything. Besides the stuff I said I didn't like. No. Anthony Hopkins, phenomenal. Always. Edward Norton, killed it. Fantastic. I love psychological fucking movies, and they really make you like think. Especially this, because it's all about psychological warfare across the fucking board between the Tooth Fairy Hello? Hi, Travis.
You have thoughts on Red Dragon, Travis?
I love dragons. Red ones are
I know
cool.
you do.
Oh my god.
Dragons are cool to shoot lightning, but red dragons with fire are cool. I like them. Why y'all talking about dragons?
We're talking about the movie Red Dragon with.
Oh, the Hannibal movie. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I thought you were just asking my opinion on red dragons. I'm saying they're cool. You know, usually when I'm running D&D games, I typically tend to move toward black dragons and blue dragons, but you know, cool. Hi, Will.
Hi, Travis. I miss you.
Miss you too, man. How you doing, Katie?
I'm good, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just saw you, Matt, so fuck you. But
I mean, you
I would
just saw me and Will like a day ago.
Oh yeah, that was last night. Shit.
yeah, that was a whole 24 hours ago though. Like I just saw Matt like literally like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Like this is actually feeling like too much Matt, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
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 So, as I was saying, psychological warfare across the board. Tooth Fairy, Hannibal Lecter, and Will Graham. Especially at the end with Will, after, I'm jumping ahead a lot, but like at the end with Will and the Tooth Fairy facing off, talking about like using the grandmother's abusive language towards Will Graham's own son to fuck with the fuck's his last name? Formaldehyde? That was his last name?
Dollar Hide.
I was close. Yeah. Formaldehyde's better.
Look at you being
Using
like
that. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
But everything about it, fantastic. I love that aspect. Also, Danny Elfman made the music.
That's in my notes too. Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I love Danny Elfman. Everything Tim Burton, Danny Elfman's typically a part of, and I love Tim Burton movies. So, big swallow. And then
We got boobs.
We did get boobs.
This is
like
the only movie that we got boobs in.
yes.
Yes. No, trust me. I'm telling you. I'm not asking.
Ew.
If there's boobs,
Okay.
I know.
But like, it was good. It was so good. I would watch it again.
You should. You have access to it. I've watched it a few times. I really enjoy these movies. Hannibal Lecter is one of those killers where I think a lot of I have my Silence of the Lambs tattoo. You can't really see it because no, it's not. Whatever. But it's the mask and it's the moth. But anyway, he doesn't get the credit that your Michaels, your Jasons, your Freddys, your Pinheads even get because he has no supernatural powers. He's only in 3 movies. They're based on a book. There's the TV show, different actors, so on and so forth. But like when it comes to fucking, especially once we get into Hannibal and like the shit he's doing in Hannibal, and like you can see like what he can really do, like
God, yeah.
he is definitely up there. He is definitely up there. He's got the iconic mask. The banter is fucking amazing.
I love it. So fucking good.
What you got, Will?
Running down my list, swallowed Edward Norton and Philip Seymour Hoffman. I said I love them both. I felt like in this one it was back to the basics with I wrote down Lesnar for some reason. But Hannibal Lecter.
I mean,
I did.
close.
It says Lesnar, back to the basics with Lesnar, but back to the basics with Hannibal. I felt like when we talk about Hannibal, the movie, we saw him as a person, but this is more of him being that psychological, like control everything person. And I think that's why I kind of like Hannibal Lecter, is because I see a lot of that in me. I like to be in constant control. I'm a big fan of being the smartest. I'm a big fan of being the smartest person in the room. Like I liked it. Back to the kind of the basics. Danny Elfman, big swallow. Apparently, the director also directed Rush Hour, which I thought was weird. A cool connection. I swallow Nancy Botwin no matter what. Always Hot, Molly Graham, which
Mary
was
Louise Parker. the
yeah,
wife. Yeah.
no, Nancy Botwin is who she is. Mary Louise Parker will always be on my hall pass list. I said that Ralph Formaldehyde is like the bad guy in No Country for Old Men. Like if you saw him on the street, you would look at him and you'd be like, that guy makes me feel uneasy, but he looks like a normal motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, and
He gives
then
serial
like,
killer vibes.
and those are the scariest kinds of people. You know what I mean? And I'll talk about it and when we get to Silence of the Lambs too, but like the people who are monsters but are passed off as completely normal people are always the fucking scariest. And that's how Formaldehyde was.
I really enjoyed seeing what would happen if Tom Riddle was a muggle.
Yeah, fucked up. Shocker.
Wow.
Nothing changes.
Wow.
Things that we didn't talk about that I really enjoyed. Philip Seymour Hoffman. So they use him to try and lure out Formaldehyde. We're just going to call him that for now. By taunting him and implying that he's gay.
Which, fair.
Well, because he only messed with the women, and there's some physical insecurities with himself, his face. He's got a hair lip, things like that, and a little bit of a speech impediment due to that. So they realized that the kills that he was doing and the way that he was doing them was playing into his vanity or lack thereof because he's a shy boy. So they tried to taunt him to come out, and all that led to was Philip Seymour Hoffman getting abducted, super glued to a wheelchair, stripped in front of, shown a very boring slideshow. That's the word I was looking for. Which we also see that in South Park, Will, and I know you know what I'm talking about. They do it to Cartman.
Of course they
There's a
fucking
creepy guy in the trench coat. Do you see? Do you see? Yeah.
God damn it.
And then sets that motherfucker on fire and sends the wheelchair flying down a hill.
That was phenomenal. 10 out of 10. No regrets. That was great.
Eventually we get to Will figuring out how Formaldehyde is selecting his victims. It's because he works at the store that makes the videos, that compile their home videos, which is why you guys listen. There are movies about like you going to a fucking Photoshop to get your photos developed and that guy being the murderer. Now, you know, if you take your shit and get a home video, like don't. Like that's why technology got to where it is. Just don't give your shit out because he was casing the houses from watching the videos over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, he was watching some videos while he let a blind girl blow him on the couch.
Yeah, what in the fuck?
What?
Why?
I mean, listen, I don't care what I'm doing. I could be doing this right now, and if Kate was like, you want to blow job, I would allow her to do it, and I would continue to do the show. I'm sure Will has done it. Or it's going on right now. Neither here nor there. The point is, like, listen, he had work to do. She offered, and good on her because it didn't look like she had a hard time finding it. She couldn't see it, but she didn't have a hard time finding it. She knew exactly what the fuck she was doing.
All about the hands.
So, but yeah, no, he seduced a blind woman because she doesn't know what he looks like, and then fell in love. But Formaldehyde's crazy, right? Like he thinks he's transforming into something superhuman, and there's evil voices. He hears voices in his head. They talk to him. They counsel him. But he argues with them because he didn't want to kill the blind chick. He really enjoyed the fact that somebody consensually had sex with him.
Her name is Reba. Let's put some respect.
Reba, yeah. And they're like, no, you got to kill Reba. And he's like, I don't want to do it. Like, and then as just said, so there's a painting, the Red Dragon painting, the picture of like the big muscular dragon back and everything. He's got it tattooed on his back. He eats, like he goes to where they're keeping the painting.
Yeah.
And then has them show him the painting. And then he rips it out of the book and starts cramming it in his mouth and eating it. And incapacitates two women on his way out.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, a choice. But because the dragon was consuming him, he had to consume the dragon.
Mm-hmm. We also talked, Katie brought up how he faked his own death. He lit his house on fire with his blind girlfriend inside. not knowing where the exit is or being able to feel around because fucking fire.
No, she knew. She knew. She figured it out.
She figured it out, but
because
like the house on fire and trust she can figure it out.
Well, I mean, when she got there, she counted how many steps and the clock.
Yeah, but fucking fire, Katie. When you set a house on fire, there's no way to like know. Okay, the fire's not going to spread to her path, and she's not going to be trapped. Like you just set that shit on fire.
Take a leap of faith.
He also murdered.
I was gonna say, does she know to take that leaf on step 3 or step 5? Because that's a big fucking problem for a blind lady.
Also faked his own death in front of his girlfriend, and which psychological just fucked upness, like
psychological warfare, baby.
And then the house blew up, but he shows up at Will's house at the end because him and Dr. Lecter were chatting through toilet paper scrolls. And Dr. Lecter, was like, "Hey, here's Will's address. Go kill him now, so you don't end up like me." And he tries real hard, but he fails.
When you try your best, but you don't succeed.
What I really liked about this movie is how it ends, because it ends with them coming in to tell Dr. Lecter that Clarice is here to see him.
Hello, Clarice. It was so cool. That's so smart, especially because it was made like 11 years after Silence of the Lambs. It's like they knew what to work with and how to do it. And I also like that, like throughout all the movies, they talk about Hannibal Lecter is like one of the like last kills he does is the flutist, the violinist, someone in the orchestra. Like they bring it up a few times in the movies, and I'm like, hey, we watched him die, and then people ate him. That was cool. I like that. I like that they like red string theory that shit throughout all the movies, besides Manhunter, because fuck that.
All right, so I'll read you what I wrote down for spits. They didn't all end up being spits because again, I said it was hard, so I was just trying to find some shit. There was actually some shit. Like I said, the couch blowjob thing I actually really enjoyed because me, but like
That's you.
So the spits I had were the Tooth Fairy name. So Katie, we were there. Seducing a blind woman, because that's just not, and then gaslighting her literally and physically as he convinces her someone is after her. Then he shoots someone in front of her, faking his own death, and then setting the house on fire with her trapped inside. Talked about all that. Eating the painting, watching home movies of people that you want to kill while getting a blowjob from a blind woman who has no idea why you're so turned on, and then being an asshole the next day, even if it was to protect her. So Jack Crawford, played by Harvey Keitel, the guy that came and got Will Graham, was like, hey, they got Philip Seymour Hoffman, whose name I didn't write down. I actually have it under. Yeah, Lowndes. Eddie Lowndes. They got him killed. And then they tell Jack Crawford that they got him killed. He's like, well, oopsies. Like, let's try not to be sad, guys. Let's try to learn from this and not do it again. And like, you just found out you got this man murdered. And you're like, oh, well.
Whoopsie doodles. Oh no, crazy. I mean, but like he was kind of an asshole, and like did sneak into Will Graham's like hospital and like take pictures of him after he was stabbed.
Oh no, he deserved to die, but like
he deserved to die 100%.
He's a cop. You don't get a civilian killed and be like, oh, my bad. Or you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Well, it's very forward thinking in America in 2001 when you really think about it. They were ahead of their time. 2002. They were ahead of their time for where they were at.
It was a different time.
Also, not a fan of Dr. Chilton in either this movie or the next one.
Oh, hell no, he sucks.
Unsatisfied with his death. So,
yeah.
I needed more.
Oh,
we'll get there.
One thing I didn't say that I liked while Will Graham was like looking at everything and like he's going through the first crime scene, I guess, which is technically the second crime scene, I think. Just the way he's talking and like again, like trying to get into the mind of the Tooth Fairy, formaldehyde. I like when he's talking to himself. I don't know if it's just like Edward Norton's voice or the way he said it, but it's like, why did you put mirrors in their eyes? Like that line alone stuck with me for some reason. I mean, obviously we find out why, but like when he said it, I was like, damn, cool. And I wrote it down and I was like, I like it. give you.
Mhm. No, the way Will walk through a crime scene and dissect the crime scene and then talk to Lecter to work through it is fucking awesome. One thing we also didn't talk about that we should have talked about is we talked about the opening of the movie, but we didn't talk about the fact that Dr. Lecter fed his dinner guests the violinist from the orchestra. I believe it was violinist or viola player. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember what he was.
Someone that he didn't think did a good job in the orchestra. So he kidnapped them, killed them, cooked them up, and then fed them to the people that he had over. And they're like, "Oh, what is this?" He goes, "I'm afraid if I told you, you wouldn't like it."
It was
It's
the
fucking
fucking
people.
it was the orchestral board or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like that he was a chair of. And baller. Shout out to Hannibal
Again,
Lecter.
we talk about great ways to open a movie, and there's no better way to open a movie than to have a cannibal feed unsuspecting rich people human for dinner.
So he shouldn't have fucked up. Play better, and you won't get eaten.
Is that why, Will? Is that why Hannibal is one of your favorites? Is because not only is he a doctor, but he's also a chef by choice? He's a doctor by trade and a chef by choice?
In all seriousness, I think one of the reasons why Hannibal Lecter is one of my favorites is because throughout all three movies, the character himself he's almost so bored with life that he puts himself in these situations. Like the toilet paper game, where he's talking formaldehyde and he's giving him pieces to the puzzle. Formaldehyde has no idea. He's giving Will Graham pieces of the puzzle. Will has no idea. And this motherfucker's just hanging back like, God, this is awesome. Like,
his attention to details on another level. Like,
the level of narcissism as a retired fuckboy, like, Jesus Christ. Like, I thought I was good, but Hannibal Lecter is like the PhD of narcissist.
Well, he
Like,
doesn't PhD.
It's
I'm glad
wild.
I'm glad you still have something to aspire to.
Step my game up. Damn. And just for clarification's sake, he did serve at the beginning of the movie. It was Chianti, and he was serving fava beans, which is another consistency from story to story throughout the whole thing. Like, and when he's like, exactly when we get there, it's.
I didn't notice that. I mean, I knew it was gonna be people that they were eating. I just wasn't paying attention to all that because I was just like, damn, this is.
Of course, I looked at the label of the wine and the food on the plate.
I mean, of course you did. That's your shtick, my guy.
That's why we have you here, especially for this one. All right. Will Gray, Silence of the Lambs, Spit or Swallow?
Mount Rushmore of horror movies, in my opinion. So I would swallow this movie every day of the week. It's on my list of, like, if I turn it on, it doesn't matter if it's the first 5 minutes or the last 20, I'm going to watch it. Like, it's great. Like, Ritter scale, I would put it high, easily over an 8.5 into the 9 range. Like, it's up there.
All right. Actually, before I ask Katie that question, let's do that. So, Red Dragon, where would you put Red Dragon on the Ritter scale?
Red Dragon to me sets a little bit lower. It's that 7.5 to 8 range for me. I don't want to be real cheesy and say 7.75, Matt, but that's kind of where I'm at. When I remember watching it when I was younger, I was in high school the first time I saw it. Then I watched it again in college, and then I watched it, just periodically. I've seen it less than a handful of times. Watching it the other day, though, I was like, good, not great. I liked it more than Hannibal, though. I'm going to rip Hannibal to shreds when we get there. When we get there, I'm like rewatching it recently. I'm like, this is not what I remember. But Silence of the Lambs, best movie in the series, hands down, easily 8.5 to 9, without a doubt.
Okay. Katie?
Do I also have to do like a scale thing? Because I don't want to.
Okay, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm not going to make you do things.
It's too much thinking. I don't want to do that right now.
Silence of the Lambs, Spit or Swallow?
Swallow. It's an iconic movie. Whether people watch movies or not, this is a movie that is especially quoted a lot. Just like out of context shit. So like obviously it's Swallow.
Yeah, obviously I agree. That's why I said it's really hard to find any spits in these movies. Again,
Dr.
for me, it's dumb shit. Like everything, because I talked to Katie about this a little bit last night. So like my spits involve basically what the point of the movie was. So the point of the movie was Clarice is an aspiring FBI agent who isn't taken seriously because of her vagina. So my spits are all like not taking her seriously because all they care about is how pretty she looks or if she's feminine and blah, 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 blah. Fat girls who aren't fat.
A lot of fat shaming in this movie.
For girls who weren't fat.
No, they weren't.
I will say the basement at Buffalo Bill's house defies logic. He was going through room after room after room, and the layout made no fucking sense to me. Like I'm watching this, and I'm like, when does this house end? Like I know there was a pit in the floor, but like as she's going through, and then there were points where I saw like sunlight coming through windows. It looked like she went back upstairs, but she never went upstairs, and then she was back downstairs. The basement defied logic and fucked with me a little bit. So there is that. And also Catherine being really annoying after help arrived and being like, come on, bitch, let me out. It's like, dude, she said she'll come right back. Like, shut the fuck up and let her get the killer. He's still out there. Why? I get it. You've been in a hole for a while. This guy keeps making you moisturize. You're probably hungry. You've kidnapped
just try to eat the dog.
No.
Not Precious. Right?
Listen, eating the dog is probably the least egregious thing we've seen eaten in any of these movies. So
the dog didn't get eaten. But like, it's the principle. Like that was the cutest little poodle I've ever seen in my entire life. You're really gonna eat that dog?
Have you ever seen those PETA billboards where it's like, where would you draw the line? And apparently it's like stuck in a hole in Buffalo Bill's basement. Like that's where you draw that line when you're like, that dog looks awful fucking good. Like
nom.
Yeah.
I normally draw the line between chicken and dog. However, if I was in a hole for a week,
like she was like you shouldn't have eaten the dog.
Will, do you have any spits?
The doctor.
Boo.
Dude,
Yeah.
Fuck Chilton.
Yeah.
Chilton.
He's really it. I didn't like him. Like, he's the bad kind of smartest guy in the room. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why him and Lecter had such issues, is because Lecter knew he was so much smarter than this guy, and he still thought he was somebody. And I was like, I deal with those kinds of people too, where it's like they think they're smarter than you, but you know they're not.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was Lecter's intellectual equal and that Lecter should acknowledge him. And the fact that Lecter didn't acknowledge him, because Lecter is smarter and knows that that's all Chilton wants, and he enjoys fucking with people, he denied him acknowledging him to continue to fuck with him.
But it's that level of narcissism where he knows exactly what this guy wants and he sees what he's doing and he's still able to just kind of like, I think I love Hannibal Lecter.
So much gaslighting in these movies.
Uh-huh.
Gaslighting girl boss Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gaslighting girl boss Hannibal Lecter.
He is not a he is the gaslighting.
The gaslighting girl boss.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone learned how to gaslight from Hannibal. All right.
Yeah.
My notes say Hannibal isn't the bad guy. Literally, second thing I wrote down, Hannibal isn't the bad guy.
He still ate people.
He ate bad guys.
He ate the rude.
That I eat people.
He ate the rude.
He ate the rude or bad violinist.
Was he a violinist or was he a flutist?
Well, I've never met a flautist I liked, so I would understand that. With the exception of you played flute, didn't you, Katie?
What? No.
Didn't you play flute? No.
No.
Then I don't know a single flute player that I like.
I sing. Dabble with the piano.
Flautist is the proper term for a flute player.
Flutist is cooler.
Every now and then I sound educated.
Hey, more educated than me. I'm fucking formaldehyde, so.
I wrote Peter, but I didn't write his last name because I wasn't even going to pretend like I knew how to spell it.
It was something weird. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, Katie, you got any spits? But I was waiting until you guys were done talking about Peter. Fuck his last name.
From all that. Obviously the doctor. There was a lot of just like weird, like close camera, like angles and see. Why is the camera right here? We don't need that. Like just randomly, I don't appreciate a camera just like right here. I like take it away for a hot second. And then like they held it for too long too. Each time they did it, I was like, stop. It's nitpicky shit.
Yep.
Like that one just really bothered me. I don't like it. And then the fat shaming, because like they were like, oh, he likes bigger girls and he starves them to like get their skin. I'm like, they're not even big. What do you mean?
That's what bothered me is like if you're gonna say he likes fat girls, at least give me a fat girl. Now, mind you, she was 90s fat. We've talked about this back in the no ass 90s. We discussed no ass 90s. I did it somewhere. I don't remember where, but I know I talked no ass 90s. I think it was with you, Will.
I remember that conversation. I don't remember
WCW World Championship Wreckage. Yeah,
that was
no
it.
S90.
Yeah,
yes,
with the Sable and the Jacqueline stuff. You're right.
Yeah, so she was 90s fat, but that is not fat. That girl was not fat. And the idea is that he's finding fat girls and then starving them and moisturizing them so that he can make a skin suit because there was a lot of transsexual mentality stuff and discussion about the mental state of people who want to transition, or at least this specific person and his wanting to transition. So
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Buffalo Bill was a drag queen, but like not in full drag. Like he tucked, he put makeup on, he basically was trying to just make a woman suit.
Goodbye, horses.
Stop.
All right, so they mentioned the town that was next to the town that I grew up in. So when they went to go look for Buffalo Bill, they said he's in Calumet City. Calumet City is literally right next to where I grew up. Travis and I used to go to the mall in Calumet City and the movie theater in Calumet City. That's where like the shit was. We'd leave South Holland and go to Cal City and hang out and do shit. So like I spent time in Cal City. So them being like he's in Calumet City always hits home for me because I'm like I know where that is. Even though he wasn't there. He was not there. They were wrong. But love that Calumet City got the shout out of all the places. Everything Hannibal. We talked about it. I also think that this Silence of the Lambs out of the three movies is not only his best performance, but where he's most terrifying. When we get to the end in the escape, yes, most terrifying. And that's also my list. Is the end of the escape. Buffalo Bill, and I mentioned this in the chat, sounds like Damian Priest. Specifically in one moment where would you fuck me? When they do that, the close up on his lips. Me and Will both heard Damian Priest.
No, see, I didn't.
Go back and watch it and listen to Damian Priest.
I'd fuck me.
I mean, I know you guys talked about it. Like, I think I saw that in the chat before I watched Lambs and Hannibal. I don't remember. I remember when I watched anything this week. But like, I still didn't hear it.
Also, we may, depending on time at the end of this, we might book Silence of the Lambs as wrestlers and Damian Priest as Buffalo Bill. That's neither here nor there. We'll get there. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, what do you guys like about the movie?
Do you want me to go first, Katie? You want to go first this time?
Oh, you go first.
Okay. Clarice, she's stuck in some sort of hell. She's having to partner with Hannibal Lecter, who is just playing mind games with everybody who comes in contact with him, while simultaneously hunting, quite possibly the most prolific serial killer of her career. So she's just stuck in hell while being, bashed on for being a younger, less experienced woman than everybody else in the FBI with her. So like she's stuck literally in hell. Hannibal isn't the bad guy. He's so well behaved in his cell, but all the freak shows around him, like that blows. He's in the most secure cell and he seems like the most normal person, which gives me another one of my note points. And I've heard somebody else say this as well. This movie shows you what makes this movie the scariest is because Hannibal shows you that monsters can be human, and Bill shows you that humans can be monsters. And when I heard that in my head, I've always thought that about this movie. And I'm like, that makes it one of the scariest movies of all time. Kill of the movie, the cop with the billy club at the end, Buffalo Bill, I'd fuck me. And I also hate dicks, Hannibal Lecter. I wrote that down. Like, I don't like assholes. Like, I don't like people that are rude to be rude or who think, like, I get it. So I wrote down the line, I also hate dicks, Hannibal Lecter. So that's my notes. Tons of swallows and only the one spit.
I disagree with that statement Will just made based on context. I love this movie. I really do. Like I said, it's Hannibal's best performance. Personally, for me, I think I'm gonna like the next movie a little more than Will did. But Katie, what about you? You got anything else that we didn't brush upon?
We talked about Judy Foster, iconic. I also just like the way she talks. It's like anything she's in, it's just the way she speaks. It's so like it just like it tickles that good part of my brain when she talks. I like it.
Which part is that?
The what?
Which part of your brain gets tickled?
I don't know, the one that likes voices.
Okay. I didn't know if you knew which part of the brain that was, because
off the top of my head, no. I've been drinking for an hour. I can't tell you. I'd have to crack open a psychology book again. I don't have any of those on hand. But everything about her, fantastic. The mask, this is the first time that the mask gets like shown. We talked about it, obviously. Iconic, everything about it. And like I said, this movie gets quoted all the time. Like, I'm having an old friend for dinner. It puts the lotion on the skin or else it gets the hose again. Like, I hear people say that shit out of context. I say hello Clarice in that voice all the time for no reason, just to make my friends laugh. It's like, it's a quotable movie, even though like it's an odd thing to quote.
The fava beans in the nice Canty.
Yeah, that. I also like I don't know if it's considered an analogy or not, but the lambs that she's talking about when, like, before she gets to Buffalo Bill, she's talking about living on the farm with her, like, aunt and uncle or cousins or something, and she wakes up in the middle of the night, hears what she thinks is children screaming. It's lambs, which is true. Like, lambs do sound like screaming children. This is factual. And just, like, sacrificing the lamb once... What? Okay. And just... When she escapes, she tries to take one of the lambs with her. Lamb is too heavy. She was like a teenager. Gets brought back to the farm. Lamb gets slaughtered, thus silencing the lamb, silencing her. It was very interesting. I don't know if anyone else thought about it like that, but I did. And, like, the theme in the movie, like, they're basically children and, like, teenagers that get kidnapped and taken and skinned, I guess. So
young women, yeah.
Yeah. So I equate that to, like, lambs, because lambs are baby sheep. And it's, yeah.
How do you know what a screaming lamb sounds like?
Is
it the Quaker thing?
No. I'm not a Quaker.
How's everything that I've said sound completely normal to you, knowing what screaming lambs sound like?
Like, but like when they scream. Like, you've never watched like any type of documentary before? Come on.
On lambs? No.
You ever watched like anything on like Animal Planet about like farm animals?
No.
I have.
I'm not an Animal Planet person. I'm not.
I'm not either, but like I distinctly remember that. Like, you know, it's the same thing with goats. Like, screaming goats sound like people.
Animals make really weird noises when you harvest them. I'm just gonna say that.
That too. I was just talking about in general, but yeah, especially that.
No, like lambs, like all of them. Like, and I'm saying I'm trying. I don't want to go too grotesque. That's not a conversation for the show. But animals make weird noises.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Two things we didn't touch on. One, Hannibal is basically training Clarice to be better at her job. He's guiding her, but giving her the rope to figure it out on her own. He's not giving her the answers. He's just putting her in the position to see if she can do it and to prove herself, because that's what she needs. Which also and not the bad guy, is pretty much more than anyone else at the fucking bureau was doing for her. And then we talked about Hannibal's escape. So we talked about him gaslighting Chilton, which led to Chilton thinking that getting Hannibal a deal that the FBI lied about would help get in with Hannibal. He leaves his pen, which is what Hannibal then uses to help him escape from the cage that they have him in. The entire discussion about sucking mama's titties that he had with the governor about her daughter, which fucked up the whole deal, but that he didn't care because he wasn't trying to get transported. It was all a big plan, even killing the guard and then wearing the guard's face, which I don't know about you guys, but like he was wearing the guard's face, but I still saw him. I didn't see the guard's face. Like I'm like, that's clearly Anthony Hopkins. How do you guys not see that? Like I
Suspension of disbelief, Matt.
Yeah, man.
But he pulled the face off, and I'm like, it still looks like him. No, you're not there. When everyone thinks that he's escaped, they put the breathing security guard, police officer in an ambulance, and then he murders everyone in the ambulance and makes his escape. Just the brilliance of the plan and the way everything came together for him to get out. Just insane. Fucking loved it.
Big brain play by Hannibal Lecter.
Big brain on Hannibal. And Will, you said this is 9.5.
You're muted.
9.
9. All right.
Okay.
Will, Hannibal, spit or swallow?
I'm gonna gargle undecidedly.
Okay.
Because there are pieces of this movie that I really like. So once we get through, I'll kind of split it up. You know what I mean? So, but gargle undecidedly. There's enough I didn't like to equal what I liked.
Fair. Katie, Hannibal, spit or swallow?
I'm also gonna gargle undecidedly.
Really?
Yeah, there was some stuff that kind of just bothered me, and this movie felt like 2 hours. The other ones didn't. This one felt like 2 hours.
Okay. I'm swallowing. Here's the thing. First and foremost, Gary Oldman. Mason Verger was Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is everybody. Gary Oldman is the most chameleon fucking actor. Gary Oldman is fucking fantastic. Love me some Gary Oldman.
I even looked at the bottom and it said Gary Oldman, but I didn't put two and two together. Oh my god, he looked like a fucking Grant. He looked like a who?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god,
Gary
that was Gary
can
Oldman.
be anyone, anywhere, all at once.
Sirius Black, look at you go.
Yeah, not just Sirius Black, dude. Like Gary Oldman, fucking Detective Gordon. Like Gary Oldman is everybody.
The Harry Potter connection from.
No, I know. But the point is, Gary Oldman's fucking Dracula. Like, and you can't tell it's Gary Oldman. He does this so fucking well.
It's
insane.
Yeah.
Also, one name that I know you guys recognize, Ray Liotta, obviously.
Yeah.
One that you guys might not recognize but should, Judy Arnson. One of the girls that got murdered in Friday the 13th Part 4. The one that was topless out on the lake in the raft. I love Judy. She's the one that I said was the hottest in the movie. I love her. Yeah. So we got Ray Liotta, Gary Oldman, and Judy Arnson in this movie. Again, swallows. If you can't see Gary Oldman in that picture, there's a flashback scene with him and Hannibal when he's dancing with Hannibal, where you can clearly tell it's Gary Oldman.
But like I don't. I guess I like wasn't focusing on like his face as much until it was starting to get like carved up. I can see it slightly when he's Who-esque.
Now, so Will, you've talked about connections, right? So the guard that was watching Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs,
Barney.
Barney, is now giving an interview and selling bits of Hannibal Lecter memorabilia to the highest bidder, being Mason, getting a little profit. But speaking of Mason, there is a line that he says that I absolutely fucking love. He says, I have immunity from the court system and I have immunity from the risen Jesus, and nobody beats the Riz.
He said that, and I think that's immediately when I checked out. I said, I gotta go.
Really?
No, but like he said that, and I'm like, I kind of just like glanced over, and I was just like, ugh. I heard Riz, and I was like, ew. I deal with teenagers all day. That's all they.
But it was Riz is in risen Jesus, not Riz is in charisma.
I know, but like,
Okay.
still,
No, I enjoyed it. I love that fucking line.
of course you did.
The pigs.
Which is, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's an episode of Criminal Minds. It's 2 episodes of Criminal Minds. Serial killer feeds his victims to pigs and they eat them.
And Paul, we'll get more into detail on Paul, but Paul getting what he deserved in the end. All big swallows.
Yeah. Parodied.
Will.
Parodied in Scary Movie 2.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
My
Will,
turn.
Tell me what you liked first, since you're 50-50.
There's the shortest amounts of notes. This is probably the movie that I've seen it more than Red Dragon, but I liked it the least. The things that I liked the most, I'm swallowing Julianne Moore in a cocktail dress. Like, even in the shittiest of situations, like she still made that look super hot. Him literally feeding Ray Liotta's brains to the table like you're at a fucking like 12-star Michelin restaurant somewhere in Thailand that you have to lie to somebody to get into because they're not supposed to be doing it anymore. Like, that's the vibe that dinner had, and I was like, that's intense. And he's like alive while he's doing it, and I'm like, that's nuts. We get to see Hannibal in that predatory, sneaky role, because in Silence and in Red Dragon, he's in captivity. This is the only chance we get to see Hannibal Lecter be Hannibal Lecter. And we see him, it's a lot more commanding. He's a lot more creepy, that sneaky, like you see him be him, even though he's in an alias because he doesn't want to get caught. And yeah. And then Verger wants to do, it seems like he wanted to do like a saw trap, but he's also very confusing because he's like, I want to catch this motherfucker because of what he did to me, but he's also working with the FBI to try to find him. Like,
Well, he was using the FBI to get information to try and find him so that he could send his men to go get him once the location.
That's why he has the flag. Okay, that makes more sense.
Florence.
Cal City and Italy. Love it. Why wouldn't you go to Italy? Like, why the fuck? You cook. Why wouldn't you go there?
I would go there.
Katie likes.
I didn't talk about it in, what was it? A Red Dragon. I liked the opening credits that it was like all like scrapbooking stuff. This one, I like that it was all like security camera footage. I like stuff like that. It's unique. It's different. It's not just like weird little like opening credits. Hannibal Lecter's fashion sense, because he's in Italy, top tier. This man's had fedoras and nice coats and turtlenecks. Oh my god. That is a fedora? No way. Look at that. Cute. Love that. Love that for you. No, Lesnar. See, fuck. I said it too. Damn it.
I don't feel bad.
Hannibal
now.
Lesnar.
Hannibal Lecter. It just, and like when he's in public, he's like wiping down his wine glass, so there's no prints and like his like no saliva. Very smart. because he knows he's on the run, but he's not. He's Dr. Fede or whatever, and he's just trying to be part of the church and shit. Yeah, please just text them to me because I'm not writing anything down.
I know you aren't.
It's my birthday. I'm not writing shit down. This is your job today.
Why? See, listen. I was waiting for Manhunter to do a little thing, and then you went and told.
You can still do it. It's okay. You're gonna be fine. I had to wait a half an hour late to do this show.
That's not on me.
I know that's not on you. I'm just
He showed up and didn't even wish you a happy birthday because he's an asshole.
still annoying. Anyways, and then Pazzi, the
Inspector Pazzi.
yeah, recreating his ancestors hanging, genius. That was cool. As soon as he brought it up to him when he was just trying to get like the old, like fucking librarian's luggage and shit, I knew that they were gonna recreate it somehow. I wasn't expecting it like that. He was like, intestines in or intestines out. He gave him a choice.
On top of repeatedly implying that he was going to eat out Pazzi's wife.
Yeah, which like, hey, Allegra was a beautiful woman.
That felt very sexual versus like I'm gonna eat her for dinner. That felt like I'm gonna eat.
He was like
snack.
Horny as all fuck in this movie.
Maybe that's why I like this Hannibal. Maybe that's why I was.
Because he was
maybe that's why I
horny
like
Hannibal.
Why the fuck not? Listen,
horny Hannibal. Come on, I
Hannibal
gave you
needs
one.
pussy too. Right?
Don't we all? But like, here we are. It just. He's a very horny man. This movie.
He strikes me as bi. Honestly, I feel like Hannibal goes both ways. I feel like he's a sophisticate. He doesn't discriminate.
He might even be like demisexual. He might just be like, "Hey, come here."
All of you.
He could be everything. Shout out to horny Hannibal.
All right. Well, I think I have the smallest amount of spits, so I will go first. The fact that Clarice is still getting zero respect, and Bolton is an asshole in the beginning of the movie during her sting operation who refuses to listen to her and fucks up everything. Our boy Ray Liotta, aka Paul, being a misogynist pig the entire movie and reiterating everything that Will said about Clarice in the cocktail dress, but in all of her clothes. And then the detective getting himself and a civilian killed because he's greedy and stupid and decided he was going to catch prolific serial killer, top 10 most wanted in the world, Hannibal Lecter, all by himself. He got that pickpocket got, I'm assuming there's an artery right next to the cock artery, just poked right in it.
He got him like in the side.
No, that was go back. That was right next to his penis.
I don't want to go back.
He even said he grabbed me just right, meaning like he grabbed my dick and balls. He grabbed me just right.
I don't think that's what that meant, but hey, it's Italy.
We were sitting there, they were covering it, and then he's just like, "You need to die because I can't have you telling people." And he like moved his hand and like let the blood just squirt.
Yeah, no.
Hannibal Lecter.
Dick.
Hannibal Lecter is the only person I know that can make a man squirt.
You're so stupid.
I am not so stupid. I am fantastic.
That was a great soundbite.
Thank you. But yeah, really, those are my only spits. So, Will, you have the floor. Please tell us why this was a gargle for you.
I had two spits written down. I'm going to start with the one, and you'll be like, okay, fair. It's more of an opinion base. Julianne Moore, however great and beautiful and stunning she is, did not feel like Clarice. And I know why they did it, but like Jodie Foster was that role. And when I watched it back this time, I'm like, good, not great. You know what I mean? It didn't feel the same way. It didn't carry the same vibe, especially having Hannibal Lecter in the role, because it was like kind of like watching, Manhunter. It was like watching a
We're not there
movie with
yet.
this, but like we'll get there. So that's a big one because again, not against Julianne Moore as an actress, but it just didn't feel right seeing someone else play that role. My other big spit, and this is why the biggest piece of why I gargle undecidedly for this movie is because this movie seemed like it was all over the place, even though it followed the same format as the other movies. You had Hannibal Lecter. You had the police or the FBI and a protagonist in that area. Then you had a third counterpart, be it a serial killer or whoever else is part of it. The other two movies did a good job of tying all of the subplots together without it seeming like it was too busy. Like Katie said, Silence of the Lambs is a 2-hour movie that feels like you watch it in an hour. It flies by. Red Dragon, kind of the same way. Right at 2 hours, I think, maybe a little less. But don't have it in front of me, but like it felt like an easy watch. Hannibal felt like a 2-hour long movie. You had Hannibal's story, you had Berger's story, you had Clarice's story, and this was the only one where it seemed convoluted. It seemed messy and too busy, even though it was following the exact same format and story arc as the other movies.
Okay, that's fair. See, I looked at it as you had Hannibal, again, prime evil. By the way, Quetzalcoatl. I don't know about Demon Knight 2, but we did do Night of the Demons 2. And if you go check our YouTube, you can check out me and Katie talking about Night of the Demons 2. But
That's
Hannibal, like
plug.
your main bad guy, right? And then you have what I said was your secondary bad guys. Now you can argue that technically Formaldehyde, Dollarhide, the Tooth Fairy is the main bad guy, but I look at the overall arcing. Hannibal is it, and then you have your sub bosses. You have the Tooth Fairy, you have Buffalo Bill, and in this one it was Mason Verger.
Yeah.
So that's how I, like you said, follows the same format. I looked at Mason as that surrogate. Plus, it was fucking Gary Oldman. Jesus Christ! But
So much good stuff that makes me want to love this movie, but I was just like, it felt so weird. Like it didn't feel anything like the other two movies. I don't feel like it watched like the other two movies. Like Hannibal Lecter wasn't as. I don't feel like he was. You saw the most pure version of him, but like at the same time, it didn't hit as well as him when he's in captivity and he's in a cell, and you see how purely evil he can be. He becomes like a Buffalo Bill, where you're just like, this is a normal ass dude who's doing really terrible things, but him being in captivity and still able to control everything is what made him extra creepy. Him just being a serial killer on the loose makes him like every other Joe Blow serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, Dahmer did that. Like, who gives a shit? Like, oh, he eats people, fucking edgy. Like, no, he's just a serial killer now. When he was in captivity and running the show and gaslighting and being it, like, that's when I feel like was super dope. This was cool though, because again, you got to see him be sneaky and that demanding side of it. But yeah, this was just didn't hit right with me. This wasn't the move. It's my least favorite of the three though.
and that's fair. I have directed by D. Snyder or written by D. Snyder. Strangeland, by the way. Twisted Sisters, D. Snyder.
I was going to say D. Snyder from
Yes.
the Twisted Sisters.
Yeah, he wrote the movie. Yes.
That's cool.
I'm glad we
And-
all were on the same page there.
Linda Cardellini and Robert Englund are in that movie as well.
Like
Hey,
Robert
I know
Englund?
them.
Yeah,
Like Robert
I know
Englund.
that guy.
Like
Robert
England, the man in the
Like the Robert Englund.
the
Robert Englund. Katie, do you have
Yeah.
anything to add about things you didn't like about the movie? Since
I didn't mean to commandeer that whole thing. Sorry.
no, you said you had two things. You wanted to explain why this was a gargle because you really love those movies, so it completely made sense.
Yeah.
As my notes say, because again, every other movie we watched, I was in it. I was like engrossing myself in the movie. I was there. A little over 2 hours, no problem. Didn't feel like it. This one felt like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting here. I ended up on my phone a few times. I don't like doing that. I try not to. But the notes I have, Mason Verger, Grinch looking ass. Verbatim, what I have. Because as soon as I saw him, I thought of the Grinch. Is that what I said? No Jodie Foster. Because, like, it's Clarice. It's, like, when you do a remake of a movie, or in this case, a sequel to a movie, and you're going to include a character from the original, but have it be played by someone different, it doesn't hit the same. No shame, like Will said, no shame the Julianne Moore, but like, I think like trying to force the accent that Jodie Foster just has so naturally, I didn't like, because like she kept slipping in and out of it, and I was just like, I don't like it. Mm-mm. And then Commendatore Pause, like, sir, what made you think you're just some, I'm gonna be honest, low-life inspector in Italy that you can catch FBI top 10 most wanted Hannibal Lecter? What the fuck made you think that? Why? Because you wanted the reward money to take Allegra to the opera that Hannibal was at and wanted to seduce her and eat her in every way?
Listen, Allegra struck me as a little bit of a gold digger. Like, she looked like she had expensive taste, and Posy wanted to keep her around because who wouldn't? Like,
well, yeah, she 100% was a gold digger. Like, that's no puts about it. Like, she was like, I don't want to sit in the back. I want to sit up front. It's like, shut the fuck up, bitch. You're gonna get there. Relax. He had
Seven is fantastic.
He had to attempt to get a serial killer in captivity, or get his print, specifically just the print, to get the money to get her tickets. And then, you know what happened? My guy, you got fucking killed for it. Karma's a bitch. Don't try and do the FBI's job when Clarice is trying to call you and be like, don't do it. And then you're going to try and do it, bitch. Don't. She tried to warn him, and he ignored her. And then Hannibal answers his phone. She's like, oh, well, here we go again. This bitch. He's just, I also don't like Hannibal in, like, this. Like Will said.
Really?
In captivity, well, like, in captivity, he's more psychological. And that's what I like, is I like killers and serial killers and everything like that play mind games. And he's a master at it. But, like, while his there's a word I'm trying to say and I can't think of it now. His, like, options are limited. Like, he has to be super creative while he's locked up in a space, in a cage.
Okay.
Here, he's just out in the fucking wild, stabbing bitches and gutting humans, which I loved. I will say, I did love
This
that.
was the most Hannibal Lesnar that he was, all right? He picked motherfuckers up and was tossing them. Like, he showed, hey, yes, I'm a sophisticate. Yes, I'm a chef and a doctor, but I also lift weights, and I can toss a bitch if I need to, all right? So,
yes,
like,
I'm also a librarian at the Congress of fucking Italy. Like,
and why not? And you talked about the
all I
mind
wanted to
games.
be.
Everything he did with Posy was mind games, from showing up at that
Well, yeah.
and talking about his, his ancestor who was a snitch who got hung, and
Hanged.
leading all of that up to where we were. I guess I hold on to, like, the two big things, because I agree about Clarice. I agree about, I love her, but, like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's knowing Gary Oldman as Mason Verger, and then the pigs and his fucking Cordell, his servant, where Hannibal's just like, you can push him in and just tell him it was me, and then he does it.
He said,
like,
okay.
He's like, you know what? You make a really good point.
Which, like, honestly, Cordell, I've done the same damn thing.
I'm done with this shit.
I get
And then also the part that we have not quite gotten to yet, the end of the movie with Paul and the dinner. Will talked about, it being that intimate but not right. How did you put it? Michelin 5-star.
The way In my head, the way I would liken it is in something in the real world is if you go to a private chef's establishment or somewhere where they'll serve something like ortolan. Ortolan was once upon a time a 3 Michelin starred dish that was a delicacy, but it's now outlawed around the world because of the preparation of the dish. Because exactly, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. But when you prepare ortolan, you have to take the live bird and drown it in cognac and then cook it, because you have to drown it so that way it drinks the cognac into its body so it braises with the liquor inside of it. That's the only way you can do it, though. So, like, it's super inhumane, and that's what it felt like to me. He made it feel like they were paying for this super elaborate, super, like, under-the-table fine dining experience. Like, you hear about these people, these super world elites that will go to these places like Thailand and stuff, where they will still serve you live monkey brains. Like, when I say that, like, this is the world elite of food, is like, people seek this stuff out. That's how that read to me in the movie. I was like, that's what it feels like.
The Queen ate swan. You ever had swan, Will?
I have not had swan. I've had a lot of weird waterfowls, though.
Bet it tastes like chicken.
Will is a chef, Quetzalcoatl. But yeah, no, that whole thing, and then like dissecting, this is the part of his brain where he has manners, and this fucker has no manners, so he doesn't need it. The peeling back of the scalp, the skull, to open it up, feeding the child on the plane, dude's brains.
Bro.
Like, I don't know. There are parts of this movie I really love. I talk about, when we talked about Hellraiser, I said that Hellraiser 3 is my favorite because it's Pinhead unbound, right? He's out of the box. It's hell on earth. This kind of felt like that for me. It is the third movie, and it's Hannibal without any restrictions. He can just be him, and I appreciate that. The one thing I don't get is the title of the episode is Hannibal Lecter eating the root, right? Mm. I feel like Clarice became the root in this, and then he didn't. He still let her go, and they never really fully explored what his reason for allowing her to live, because he sent the Tooth Fairy after Will Graham to kill Will Graham because Will locked him up, right? Like him saving her and doing all of that to allow her to live, to continue to hunt him. Maybe it's just the fun of the game. Maybe this is the only person he feels is on the level of him to capture him at this point. I don't know, but it felt weird to me because he had her and he could have done it. He could have taken care of it.
I think I realized something else as we've been talking that I don't like about this is, like, in Silence of the Lambs, it's like kind of hinted at that there's like a sexual thing between like Hannibal and Clarice, like on his end, but this time he like acts upon it, and I think that's where I'm just like, no.
In the books, they fuck.
Why?
Because why not?
They don't need to.
I didn't even get to talk about the fact that Miggs jerked off and threw cum in Clarice's face in the last movie. I completely forgot that. I had
you had the opportunity.
I literally
said
I was sitting on the pitching mound and I tossed you that softball when I said he was so well behaved with the other freak shows in that hallway, Matt. That's literally lobbed it up to you. Like
no, I had it in my notes and I skipped Miggs was creepy and I meant to circle back to it and I didn't. But yeah, no. Clarice got a cum shot in prison. That's a thing.
It's fucked up.
And then Hannibal just whispered to him all night, made him crazy, and had him off himself. Like, which is amazing. That I was watching The Acolyte, and one of the things that they talked about in Star Wars: The Acolyte, it's not really a spoiler, but it's like kill a Jedi without using a weapon, right? Hannibal Lecter can kill you without using a weapon.
Is that how
with
the
just
Force
his words
was created?
Something kind of like that.
Nice. Cool.
A good book is damned. I'm assuming damned is the title of the book.
Maybe. Probably.
No, he's talking about the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, like an actual damned book.
That is a very good book. It connects my entire horror verse, which again you go back and check episodes, we talk about my combined horrorverse and how the Necronomicon can bring everyone together. Neither here nor there. It's also the book that Hannibal Lecter in my story gets all his recipes from for the people that he cooks. Neither here nor there. I don't think I got to that. I don't think I
you
actually wrote
did.
that down.
I was like
didn't get that
thinking
far.
about it. I was like, I don't think you got there from what I read.
But all right. So, Will, on the Ritter scale, where do you put this movie?
This is a nice, modest 6 out of 10. This is like, this is like Fast Lane. Chuck Palahniuk is the.
I will
author
say,
of Fight Club.
yes,
I was
Chuck
like,
Palahniuk. I will say of the 3 movies, this is probably my least favorite, but I think I like it a little bit more than you guys did. Just for reasons.
You like him horny. That's why.
Matt likes everything. Matt like the horny version of everything.
I do,
does.
100%. And
He does.
again, it happens in the book, so like, why the fuck not? Why would we?
I didn't read
that?
the book. I don't know.
I know you
I didn't
don't,
know
but I'm just
I
saying.
didn't know they fucked. Weird.
Speaking of fucking and birthday sex, ladies and gentlemen, so my plan originally was to like come on because we were rushed, we were running late because we did #TheMDragons, and I was gonna like make Katie think I forgot that it was her birthday, and I was gonna wait till right before Manhunter and then be like, oh yeah, and by the way, we should all wish Katie a happy birthday.
I know you wouldn't forget.
So please, if you are either listening later or watching this, go to @KatieWrestling13 on Twitter and wish Katie a happy birthday, belated or otherwise. If you were here in the chat, what's total, appreciate it. Happy birthday, Katie. We love you. Thank you for doing this on your birthday with us, spending your time.
2:00 in the morning. Let's fucking go.
There you go.
I have nothing to do.
And to celebrate your birthday, we'll talk about the movie that I think everyone liked the least.
Yeah, because this movie ass.
But we watched it because it is Red Dragon. It was Red Dragon before Red Dragon. So Manhunter, Katie, spit or swallow?
Spit. Hawk 2, actually.
Oh, we got Hawk 2 out of it.
Hawk
Will,
2.
spit or swallow?
I'll spit what I got to see of it, and happy birthday, Katie.
Thank you. So
I'll give you guys this. I feel like the pacing of Red Dragon worked better than the pacing of this movie.
Yeah. So let me just say this. Ever since you told me yesterday that this was basically it was Red Dragon again, I was comparing the two.
Yeah.
Which, if you would have told me it wasn't Red Dragon and like I didn't know Red Dragon was a thing, like say we weren't doing this and I watched Manhunter, I feel like it would be like okay, but knowing it is Red Dragon before Red Dragon was a thing, and seeing how like I feel like there was so much left out. There could have been so much more details. Also just like what's his name? William Peterson, Will Graham. It's literally his character Grissom in CSI. That's it. That's what this movie was. This was an episode of CSI.
Well, it was, but
and I watched all seasons.
I love pointing out the famous people in these movies, right? So not only do we have him, we have Brian Cox. If you guys are not familiar, the best way I can tell you, he is William Stryker in X2.
Yes, you told me.
And he played Hannibal. How did we feel about how he did Hannibal?
It's the same thing. Anthony Hopkins is Hannibal Lecter.
I honestly don't think he was bad though. Like I feel like he was
bad, but like
there was less of a sexual undertone to him, in my opinion.
Can I hot tag in real quick?
He was giving.
Yeah, go ahead. Here.
Boom. Boom. This is the one of the few analogies I can make here, having not watched the entire movie, is you've seen Stanley Kubrick Shining, both of you.
Yes.
Right? How great it is. It's the standard when you think of everything that happens, you know, like that's what you think of with The Shining. Then when you think of like the PBS television show, like that's what this felt like. This felt like I was watching like a watered down, like public broadcasting version of Red Dragon.
Okay.
And I don't know, like it. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, everybody says the original one was the best,
Right.
but the second one was more true to the novel itself. Right. This is reverse of that. The Red Dragon was the best. Manhunter was closer to what the book was.
Right.
Mm.
It's the reverse of Willy. It's the reverse of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's
All
about
right.
all I've got for this one, guys. The rest is on you guys.
Well, so we talked about Jack Crawford and how Jack kind of, played by Dennis Farina, who 80s fucking Dennis Farina, like I know, Katie, you weren't born until 2000.
1996. How dare you?
Basically.
The
But
Olympics
the
were in
really
Atlanta.
cool one,
Yeah, they were.
the really cool one is Freddie Lounds. So we know that was Philip Seymour Hoffman in Red Dragon, and it was Stephen Lang.
Why do I know his name?
Lang is the blind man from Don't Breathe.
That's why I like you, Matt.
I
Like-
hate when you do this, because then I have to like reevaluate. I'm not even gonna look it up. Like I have to reevaluate my whole life. I mean, the character is still trash. Like, the character is still awful in any iteration of this movie.
To be fair, literally the cast was my only swallows. I think that this movie was paced not as well. I feel like they rushed the Reba Dollarhide stuff there at the end very fast. They waited so long to get into it, whereas in Red Dragon, it was spread out nicely through the movie. You had bits and pieces there to kind of build us into it, and this all felt very rushed. I didn't like that they said that Hannibal Lecter was a psychologist who hunted college girls versus how most of us know Hannibal Lecter as, again, eating the rude and the sophisticate who looked for people who had undesirable traits and then kind of did society a favor in a way. And then the fact that Dollarhide, Tooth Fairy, Formaldehyde, whatever you want to call him, just walked into her front yard and shot a guy. She's blind, not deaf. Nobody heard the gunshots in the front yard and were like concerned in any way, shape, or form.
It's pre 9/11. People didn't care about gunshots then.
1986. Yeah, they didn't give a fuck.
Do you guys have anything else from this movie you guys want to
Yes.
touch
I would like
on? Okay.
I would like to
Go ahead,
talk
Katie.
about things. Would you like my Spencer or my swallows first?
Let's do your swallows. So I'm sure it's a much shorter list.
So even though it is basically a long ass episode of not Criminal Minds, CSI, I've watched both. I do love William Peterson because Gil Grissom was one of my favorite characters in CSI. But like literally, if you watch the fucking show, like this is him. This is what he does. I do like that. I don't know why I have this as a swallow because this is a spit. Like not even seeing Formaldehyde's face until like literally an hour into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
For what? Like, why? Because he had fucking pantyhose on his face? I don't care. This was stupid. Stupid. God.
We also covered that. If you go back in the archives, we did the entire Devil's Rejects trilogy.
We did.
That was a lot of fun.
I was drunk on that episode too. That's crazy. I do that a lot now.
I was also high on that episode.
I was sober.
Yeah. Cheers. I mean, we still got the fire wheelchair. Like
We did.
we still got it. It's like that's a swallow for sure. And that's actually I did like how it started with like a POV shot. It was giving like Friday the 13th vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though like we just like saw the lead's family kind of, or just the wife specifically, like in the beginning, and then when Will Graham like walks through it, it's the exact same POV kind of, except with bloodstains everywhere. I did like that. Hold on, what do I have written down here? Yeah, I just know Anthony Hopkins 100%. Like that's a spit because Anthony Hopkins. It again, I was comparing Because in Red Dragon, it's Jack Crawford's idea and being like, maybe you should go see Hannibal Lecter. You know, maybe you should just go see him. But this movie is like, Will Graham's like, I need to go talk to Dr. Lecter. It's like,
I need to get
why?
my shit back. I need to get my mojo back.
It's like he stabbed you. And like he like got gutted. Like his scar was crazy. Also, how are you gonna look at crime scene photos on a plane next to a child and just leave that shit open as you take a little nap?
I don't think he intended to pass out.
He shouldn't have been looking at it on the plane. That's
Fair.
That's a crime scene file. It's a case file. That's what I tried to say.
The 80s, there were no rules. You could just do whatever the fuck you wanted on a plane.
Oh.
You could smoke on a plane back then.
There was a lot of smoking in this movie.
Yeah.
1986.
I'm old enough to remember those days.
Will was already 35 in 1986. Like
I broke up the wrestling union going into WrestleMania 2. Like, I looked at him and said, Hulk, you know what, brother? Go into the locker room and break up the union. Stop
Will
it.
was 105 in 1986. Like, it's
You
crazy.
could smoke in a hospital.
What if I'll shut up after this. One of my favorite things from my childhood is I remember taking my sister to the airport, and I remember walking with her from the front door of the airport through to the terminal where she scanned her ticket and got on the airplane.
Wow.
There wasn't security. Like, I remember walking just straight into the airport and going straight through. Like, you had to go through a metal detector, but it was nothing like it was today. Like, they didn't care. Like, we weren't getting on a plane, but they still let us through into the terminals and shit to, like, hang out. And it was so weird, like, thinking about that now. Like, the different world it was 35 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All right.
Crazy.
I don't think it's worth ranking Manhunter. I'm guessing it's a toss up. No, it's probably for everyone. It's probably Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, Hannibal, and then Manhunter.
I didn't finish Manhunter. I won't give it a fair grade. Honestly,
You
I'm not
got, you got
about
Red
that
Dragon
life.
above Silence of the Lambs, Katie. And
Mhm.
that's fair. That's fair.
Fair.
All right.
Okay.
I want to steal something from the She League showcase from Katie's show because we hinted at it at the beginning of the show. Like I said, if we had time, we got fucking time. So let's do this real quick.
Oh yeah.
Let's book some wrestlers in the place of some of these characters. Now I already said me personally, Buffalo Bill, Damian Priest.
Buffalo Bill, Seth Rollins.
Buffalo Bill for me. You know, I'll say Damian Priest. I'll go with that, Matt. I agree with you. After hearing his voice and rewatching it and seeing it, then that's why I just wrote the line "I'd fuck me" because I was like, yeah, Matt was right.
Hannibal Lecter, Paul Heyman.
I was gonna say Paul Heyman. No,
You changed your
way.
answer.
I was gonna say Paul Heyman.
That's a great one, though.
What was my original answer, Will?
You and I both had Mankind
Yep.
as our Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Paul Heyman is a great answer. I don't think I could think of anybody that would beat that.
This is a weird one, but the Tooth Fairy, Formaldehyde, Dollarhide, Heidenreich.
Gene Snitsky.
Snitsky, good choice.
PCO. Take the make off so he's not a Frankenstein. He looks like a normal human, but just creepy enough to where you think he could be a serial killer. PCO.
Okay.
Who do you have as Clarice?
Ooh.
Oh. Mickey James. She's really good at her job. She's gotten a lot of hate throughout of her career for the wrong reasons. Like, this is going to sound really shady, but you'll understand it. People have shamed her for her body, These are all things that would check Mickey James's boxes throughout her career. She's the Clarice Starling of the wrestling world.
Mickey's a good choice. I would also say AJ Lee.
AJ Lee would another perfect example. Hated on for all the wrong reasons.
Just that right bit of crazy.
Uh-huh.
I like AJ Lee. I also like Mickey. Will Graham.
Ilya
I'm gonna say
Dragunov.
Daniel Bryan.
Ooh, that's a great pick.
Both fantastic answers. Shit, hold on, let
We
me try to
spit
think.
that out like real close together, and as soon as you said it, I was like, "Oh, that's great." But Ilya seems
I
like
also thought the same thing.
like a dirty detective. Like he could be a sleazy detective. You know what I mean? Like, not that Will Graham is sleazy, but I think he could fit the demeanor of what that needed to be.
Hey, listen, Edward Norton can be a slut if he wants to be. That's fine. Fuck. I want to try and think of one that isn't either of those. No, he's just an asshole. That's not really Will Graham. I don't know. I keep going to MJF for some reason, but like that's not his vibe. Like he's too much of it. Like MJF's too much of an asshole. Like Will Graham's not.
MJF is the narcissist. Like I'd also accept MJF as possibly a Hannibal Lecter.
Dr. Chilton.
Yeah, Dr. Chilton.
MJF is a great Dr. Chilton. Too smart for your own good, sleazy MJF, like Dr. Chilton. And I love MJF. I'm a Friedman homer for sure.
I mean, okay, I can't think of one, but like Bryan and Dragunov are phenomenal choices.
This one's a little harder, but let's try and do Mason Verger. It's like, I guess think of who the person was prior to getting all carved up.
Christopher Reeves.
That's not a wrestler. First off.
It's 2 a.m. Give me a break.
That's crazy. 2:16 to be exact.
It's really only 1:15, but I was rolling it up for Katie because she's in the future. Verger. Okay. In all seriousness.
Fuck.
That's tough, dude.
I'm actually going to go Mankind. So, and here's why. So I talked about how Gary Oldman is pretty much everybody, right? We've seen the multiple faces of Foley, and we're not just talking Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, but Santa Claus Mick Foley, the father, the best-selling author. He's a man of many hats. Also, you know, we talked about the mask. Mason wears the mask, but to hide his disfigured outlook on life.
I don't know.
Cordell could be Mr. Sacco. He was a puppet.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Mason Verger, Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
Many different forms we have seen throughout the years, wore a lot of different hats, had puppets. It's the only person I can think of.
Huskus the pig boy.
Yeah. I got nothing. That's a good one. Yeah. Chris Jericho.
Oh, but whoa!
Because he's recreated himself. He's everywhere. Everybody hates his guts. Nobody wants to see him anymore. Eaten by pigs. Good. Yeah. Just kidding.
And on
I don't have one. Yeah.
I said, and on that note, we're gonna end it here. Quetzalcoatl, thanks for hanging out with us for the show. By the way, a couple things that I saw. Yes, I have seen Joe Dirt. Also, Natural Born Killers, Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis. Really good movie as well. Oh, he said Kane because Kane was disfigured in the fire.
Mason was a great pick. Like, yeah. I don't fuck with
you find out that he's a shitty person. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Bazinga.
Katie, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You want to tell everyone where they can go find you and all the fun things you do?
All the fun things I do. Yeah, so many fun things. You can follow me on Twitter, KatieWrestling13, the link tree in my bio to get all things She Elite Showcase, twitch.tv/She Elite Showcase, and youtube.com/She Elite Showcase. I think we're going again at like 7-ish p.m. EST this week because I'm a nice guy and Savannah has things to do. So I'm a nice guy. So you can watch everything there. I'm going to try and get some stuff done this week. I'm not making any promises. I'm a busy guy. Thank you for the happy birthday. But there, yeah, I'm always here. So you can find me here.
It does mean a lot. I appreciate that. Will Graham.
Will Graham.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you as always, Matt, for allowing me to be the honorary use of all things It's Creation World. If you're interested in my shenanigans elsewhere, you can find my link tree anywhere you do anything on the internet at the Will Gray. On that link tree, you'll find everything I do for Rivet City Radio, Botch Spots, and Chair Shots, and my writing profile for Last Word on Sports.
And as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Matt Ritter, ZMATTRIDDER, for your wrestling content, and at Getting Off for your horror content. Everywhere else on socials, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky at Smackin' It Raw, which is the name of our wrestling podcast we did last night. And it was our 7-year anniversary. So we did an anniversary back-to-back with a birthday, because that's what we do here. So please come follow us there.
There's not going to be a show this week.
There will not be Smackin' Raw on Saturday. Katie and Vince are busy, and I have been told repeatedly by a lot of people that I need to take some time off. However, I'm also doing Apron Bump and Return to Wrestling and hashtag them dragons, so I'm not really taking time off, but I'm not doing my show. So we will see you in 2 weeks. It is Katie Horror Showcase 2. And
oh yeah, what am I watching?
Pet Cemetery.
Okay.
The original one?
The original Pet Cemetery.
You can come on.
You're more than welcome to swing through, Will.
I was like, I like the newer one better, but the original one's great.
So,
like the John Lithgow version is.
I've never seen the original.
I loved that.
I hated that one.
I'm definitely coming on. Then I'll definitely be there.
Oh, here we go.
But yeah. So come check out Katie Horror Showcase 5 in 2 weeks. News, rumors, trailers, and us talking Katie's first watch through of Pet Cemetery.
Yep. Woohoo.
Mm-hmm. But for the Will Gray, Miss Katie Kinsey Bebe, I am the patron saint of podcast and word Matt Ritter, and this has been your #1 horror podcast on places where you can find people having sex on the internet.